Cardi B has officially clapped back at Bia after Bia's interview went viral. And let's just say, when Cardi B responds, she does not hold back. You already know Cardi will never let her name get dragged without setting the record straight. And this time, things have gotten messier than ever. Not only did Bia throw shade about Cardi's songwriting, but she also accused her of recording phone calls and spinning narratives. And as if that wasn't enough, Nicki Minaj, yes, Nicki herself, has now unfollowed Bia. Fans are convinced there's hidden shade and alliances forming behind the scenes, and the timing couldn't be more suspicious. So sit tight, because I'm breaking down exactly what went down between Bia, Cardi B, and Nicki Minaj, and how this all spiraled from a casual interview into full-blown chaos. Earlier today, Bia did an interview that immediately sent shockwaves through social media. When she was asked about Cardi B's recent song Pretty and Petty, which fans widely believe took aim at her, Bia didn't seem angry or defensive. Instead, she delivered a calm but cutting response, basically saying that she didn't take the diss seriously because she doesn't believe Cardi writes her own lyrics. According to Bia, there's no point in responding to something that isn't authentic. She said it doesn't make her feel any type of way other than thinking it's untrue. Then she added, "What am I supposed to do? Keep rapping with Partisan? If she wants to get on a stream or get in the booth with me in real life and really rap, I would do it. But I'm not going back and forth with you and your writer. It's been a year." Now, let's pause right there because that statement was a lot to unpack. When Bia says your writer, she's referring to Partisan Fontaine, the longtime collaborator who has co-written many of Cardi's hits. The internet immediately caught on to that jab and it spread like wildfire. For many, it sounded like Bia was questioning Cardi's authenticity as a rapper. And if there's one thing that has always followed Cardi B's career, it's people trying to discredit her writing. So hearing another artist openly throw that accusation reignited an old argument that Cardi's been fighting since her debut album. Bia was basically saying, "I'm a real rapper, I write my stuff, and I'm not going to waste time battling someone who doesn't." It's confident, it's dismissive, and it definitely struck a nerve. And to be fair, she delivered her message in a calm, collected tone, but the words themselves were heavy enough to make an impact. But Bia didn't stop there. In the same interview, she made another bold claim that Cardi B records phone calls. She said that she could never be cool with someone like that because it's shady and manipulative. According to Bia, their entire misunderstanding actually started from her liking a tweet about the similarities between her album Really Her and Cardi's song Enough. Fans had pointed out creative similarities and Bia agreed that she noticed them too. But instead of having a calm conversation, Bia says Cardi called her screaming multiple times. She told the interviewer, "It started on the phone and she called me screaming like 15 times back to back. Once that respect is out the window, it's over. I don't care to be friends with people that record conversations and spin narratives to sell music. That's not my MO." Now that's a serious accusation. Saying that someone records calls and manipulates situations to promote music is basically calling them untrustworthy and calculating. And that kind of label can damage reputations fast. Whether it's true or not, that statement instantly became a talking point on Twitter. People started debating whether Cardi really does record calls, with some fans defending her and others saying they could believe it because Cardi's known to keep receipts. So at this point, Bia has already touched on 3 sensitive subjects: Cardi's writing, her personal conduct, and their private interactions. But the interview still wasn't over. Another major topic that came up was the claim that Bia dissed Cardi's kids in her track Sue Me. Cardi herself had said publicly that she took offense to Bia mentioning her kids, but Bia used the interview to deny that completely. She said, "I didn't speak negatively about her kids. I spoke negatively about her. But I used their names because that's rap. It's wordplay. Even if those weren't her kids' names, the bar still would have worked." She insisted it was just lyrical metaphor, not personal disrespect. Then she added, "I would never drag a pregnant woman or involve innocent children in rap beef," saying, "My mother didn't raise me to be dragging a pregnant lady." Now, that line, "pregnant lady," got everyone's attention because, as you know, Cardi recently announced her pregnancy, and that comment sounded like a subtle dig disguised as maturity. Some people thought Bia was being respectful, while others felt she was taking the high road with a side of shade. Either way, fans read between the lines, and the interview instantly went viral. Shortly after that interview hit the internet, the story took an unexpected turn. Fans noticed that Nicki Minaj had unfollowed Bia on Instagram. Now, for those who don't know, Bia and Nicki actually worked together before. They collaborated on the Whole Lotta Money remix back in 2021, which gave Bia one of her biggest hits. They seemed cool, they were praising each other online, and fans even saw them as friends in the industry. So the fact that Nicki suddenly unfollowed her right after this interview raised eyebrows immediately. People started connecting the dots. Some fans believe Nicki took offense to Bia's comments about not talking about people's kids and not dragging pregnant women, which, given Nicki and Cardi's recent back and forth, sounded like subtle shade toward Nicki. Remember, Nicki and Cardi had just been arguing online, and things got personal with mentions of family and motherhood. So when Bia said she doesn't go that low, fans interpreted it as her trying to separate herself morally from Nicki's behavior. Whether that was Bia's intention or not, Nicki clearly didn't like the optics. The unfollow happened fast, and it sent a strong message. Social media lit up with reactions. Some of Nicki's fans said, "That's right, Nicki's cutting off anyone who's not 100% loyal." Others felt like Nicki was being petty, saying she's isolating herself from other female rappers again. But the one thing everyone could agree on is that the timing was no coincidence. Bia made her comments, fans accused her of shading Nicki, and within hours, unfollowed. Of course, Cardi B wasn't about to stay silent. You know Cardi, if her name comes up, she's going to address it directly. She jumped on Instagram Live to respond, and she had a lot to say. First, Cardi accused Bia of being two-faced. She said that Bia used to act friendly toward her, but everything changed once she got close to Nicki Minaj. According to Cardi, that's when Bia started deleting old tweets and unliking shady posts, trying to clean up her image. Cardi claimed that Bia even told her she had to do her business, implying that she was willing to fake relationships or change alliances to keep herself in the industry's good graces. But then Cardi dropped the real bombshell. She accused Bia of having ghostwriters of her own. Cardi said that some of Bia's biggest songs, including Whole Lotta Money, were originally sent to her first. She claimed she turned them down and then Bia recorded them instead. Cardi even said she has reference tracks, actual recordings of someone else performing Bia's songs word for word before Bia even touched them. That revelation hit hard because Bia had just mocked Cardi for supposedly not writing her music. Cardi was basically saying, "You're talking about writers when your own hits were written for you?" It flipped the narrative completely. Cardi didn't stop there. She also said that Bia shouldn't act like she's above the drama because she's just as involved in behind-the-scenes industry politics as everyone else. She called out Bia for being fake, for switching sides, and for trying to act like she's real when she's allegedly doing the same things she's criticizing others for. Fans watching the live said Cardi sounded angry but composed, like someone who's been sitting on information and finally decided to let it all out. You could tell she felt betrayed, and she wanted to expose the hypocrisy. Within hours, the entire internet was on fire. Hashtags like Cardi B, Bia, and Nicki Minaj were trending across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Everyone had an opinion. Cardi's supporters, the Bardi gang, flooded the timeline defending her, saying that Bia tried to act innocent but was really taking subtle shots at Nicki. They said Cardi had every right to respond because people keep trying to discredit her hard work. On the other hand, Bia's fans felt like Cardi overreacted. They argued that Bia wasn't even being disrespectful, that she was just explaining her perspective and setting boundaries. They felt like Cardi was too sensitive about the ghostwriting topic and turned it into a full-blown feud when it didn't need to be. Then you had the Barbs, Nicki Minaj's fan base, who were watching from the sidelines but definitely not staying quiet. Some of them celebrated Nicki's unfollow, saying it showed loyalty and boundaries. Others accused Bia of clout chasing, saying she used Nicki's name for attention when it was convenient and then tried to separate herself when it suited her image. It became a three-way fan war, Bardi gang versus Barbs versus Bia's fan base, and it was chaos online. People were digging up old tweets, sharing screenshots, and posting receipts to prove who was right. Rap Twitter was basically on fire all weekend. Looking at this situation from a distance, it really highlights how fragile relationships in the music industry can be, especially among female rappers. One interview, one tweet, or even one misunderstood comment can flip everything upside down. The alliances change, the fandoms clash, and suddenly people who were once cool are now enemies. In Bia's case, maybe she genuinely didn't mean any harm. She might have just been answering questions honestly. But when you're in this kind of high-profile environment, even the smallest shade can snowball into something massive, especially when you're dealing with artists as outspoken as Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. For Nicki, the unfollow might have been a way to distance herself from unnecessary drama, or it could have been a statement that she doesn't want anyone in her circle who seems to be aligning with her rivals. For Cardi, it was a chance to reclaim her narrative and remind people that she's not afraid to speak her truth. And for Bia, it might serve as a lesson that in this industry, every word gets magnified. So at the end of the day, what started as a simple interview has turned into one of the biggest talking points in hip-hop this week. We have Bia calling out Cardi for ghostwriters and phone calls, Cardi clapping back by exposing Bia's own alleged writers, and Nicki Minaj quietly stepping away by hitting that unfollow button. The whole thing feels like a domino effect, one comment leading to another, with fans and media dissecting every word. But the question is, what happens next? Will Bia respond again now that Cardi's gone public? Will Nicki say anything about why she unfollowed her? And do you think this feud could turn into another rap beef that leads to diss tracks? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Bia was being shady or just misunderstood? Was Cardi justified in going live and calling her out, or did she take it too far? And what do you make of Nicki's timing? Do you think it was strategic or just coincidence? Whatever your opinion is, this situation proves one thing. Hip-hop never sleeps. There's always a new headline, a new unfollow, or a new live stream waiting to drop.